Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Rockwood number 891. This is a pocket door privacy latch. They say that it's in 613 finish. Well, this says 10B. Yeah, it would probably be most appropriate to call this 10B. That means oil-rubbed bronze, but 10B or US 10B does not define the base material that it's made of like the term 613 does. US 10B, doesn't force you to declare what the base material is. When you say 613, it means it's made of bronze. And this is certainly not going to be made of bronze in the sense of it being all made of bronze. So we'll call it US 10B. This edge portion here is not going to be, a bronze base material, but the outer portions sure would be. And that glare that you see there, that wet look, that's oil rubbed. I mean, oil rubbed is going to have a look like that. This client ordered 213 of these pocket door privacy latches going to, I'm not sure where the ultimate destination is. And you can pretty much guarantee that all 213 will be a little different because oil rubbed bronze is literally defined as a living finish. It's a fancy way of saying it changes, and they're all different. From lot to lot, manufacturer to manufacturer, there's going to be a variation that occurs. And that may not be what you want, or it may be exactly what you want. It depends on what you want. Oil-rubbed bronze in 613 could look really great on long ladder poles installed on exterior doors, where you'll have that natural aging, where the bronze tone will be revealed over time coming through the pole handles. Or you might say to yourself, that looks awful, the finish has worn off. Just be mindful that 613 is literally the definition of it's going to change. We just did recently a project for a country club, and we had the discussion. All the existing material was oil-rubbed bronze. And it was quite clear through use that that oil rub obviously had worn off and was revealing the bronze tones below. So we had the conversation. What do you want this material to look like in 5 years? Do you want it to look like it does now, or do you want it to be stable? And they elected to have it stay stable. So what we did was we powder coated a dark bronze over a base material, and generally when you powder coat, you'll use the least expensive base material. So for that country club, the base material was stainless steel. And then we did what's called a US 10BE for equivalent. So it's all powder coated, and it's going to look it's very complementary to this. It's not identical, but it is definitely in this very close relative family of an oil rubbed finish. And the advantage is, powder coating is an incredibly durable process to finish material, to paint material. So unless there is some sort of scratching, which you'll have with pull handles and push plates because you have rings on your fingers, you have keys in your hands, but just normal use, it's going to hold up very well. Now, since we're talking about finishes, the other finishes that the 891 is available in is 605 for polished brass, 613 oil rub bronze, 625 for polished chrome, and 626 for satin chrome. Okay, now this is the typical pocket door privacy where you're going to cut a notch in your door, a rectangular notch. It might be square. It always incorporates an edge pull. Okay, you're going to have two plates. They're completely reversible. You can remove these screws and you can flip the plates around so that you have your thumb turn on the correct side of the opening. You have your emergency release on the correct side of the opening. And again, that edge pull is there. This model, I'm not sure if it's going to work for 1 3/4 thick doors, but we're going to discover that. It very likely will, because it appears as if that pin is long enough inside of there. What else you're going to get with this will, of course, be the strike plate. Okay, it's going to install like that. And when that hook comes out, it's going to grab into that strike plate and provide that privacy that's necessary. Okay. you will get 4 screws. There are two pair of screws. 2 are longer than the other 2. 2 are flathead, 2 are oval head. The oval head will be intended, the shorter oval head will be intended for the lock body itself. A couple of basic dimensional properties, and then we're going to switch to the screen view and take a look at the installation instructions. Overall height about 2 3/4. Overall width about 2 1/2. When this is all screwed together, this is going to be put together for 1 inch, and this will measure 1 1/4 inches. But when the way that you install this is you tighten these screws such that these 2 plates will telescope in and out over the inner edge pull assembly to accommodate your different door thickness. So let's switch to the screen view and take a look at the extended description, and then the supporting documentation, which will certainly be these installation instructions as well. We're going to go over that right now. Here is the item that we are working on, the 891-613 pocket door privacy latch, satin oxidized oil rub bronze. Extended description information. We have our 2 1/2 wide, 2 3/4 tall. Got our fasteners, turn piece, locks to jam strike, emergency release on opposite side, and confirmed it will work on 1 3/4 thick doors. That's important because sure, sliding doors in residential applications or pocket doors, they're going to be 1 3/8. But I'll tell you, we have commercial clients like national hotel chains that use these. Obviously, in their non-ADA compliant doors, these are not ADA compliant. They're non-ADA compliant suites or rooms. And those doors are 1 3/4 is the bottom line. So we have some supporting documentation. Let's just take them in order. Product brochure is here. This will be a review of other sliding door items. The edge pulls that are here. What's nice about the 891 is that it's both a privacy and incorporates an edge pull. Now the 890 is the same item as this, just a passage. You might literally have a door that there's no need at all to have privacy on. You're just going to install a passage set. It'll give you the edge pull here. There would be no strike on the door, on the jamb at all in that regard. The 880 is a very classic, ubiquitous design of edge pull that has been around for several decades. So the next document would be called Tech Sheet. And this kind of talks about installation. So we have template. Okay, so let's just look at template. This gives us some overall dimensional properties of the item. Okay, so we will pass on that because we're going to pick that up in this tech sheet. Installation instructions. Okay, so this is the document that's actually included in the package itself. I don't believe we're really going to be dealing with any lost information between tech sheet. Yeah, we're not. It's, one is probably just a copy of the other. One's a little bit older document, 2016, and this is from 2008. So let's go with the more current one. And even though it's not as high of quality. So what we're saying is you're going to prep this notch or this rectangular prep in your door, and you're literally going to just notch this. However you'll go about doing it is how you'll do it. I would prefer to use a template and a router every single time. The good thing about that is I don't believe you're going to need to round or square your corners at all here and here using a router. And if you were to basically just create yourself a template, a wooden template that has that notch in it, and then you can clamp that down to your door. If this is your door here, and you can just take your router and just work. Well, yeah, you would just take your router and just continue to work that until that prep was done. That's how I would do it. I might even take it a step further, and if I was going to make a template, I might take my door. If this was my template, I might make that template long so I could flush it to the bottom of the door and not even worry about measuring anything. Just square it off down here, clamp it, and then route away is what I would do. So that's another way. Being a naturally lazy person, I look for ways to keep it lazy, even though making the template initially will take some time. Hey, listen, if you've got 3 of these to do, you're gonna make up time in the long run. This client ordered 240 of these, or 230 of these. I imagine those doors are already prepped. Now, so you're going to cut that notch. You're going to need to determine the height at which you're going to prep that if you are prepping it. And I would take an audit of all of the other, locking hardware within the space, and I would sure want to match that height so I knew that I was going to be in, a line of sight or having a dimension off the finished floor that would be compatible with everything else. So cut one simple notch in the door, 2 5/16 by 1 3/4 inch. They're going to want you to over drill the edge of that a little bit, and there's a reason for that, and I'll show it to you when we look at the hardware again. They want this relief edge, notch edge for relief of dished grip. The plates themselves are scalloped back. They're depressed or scalloped back, and that's why they're going to want you to go in there with that. Could you get fancy and put a V-groove bit in your router and then shim your template? Yeah, you sure could. No, you wouldn't even have to. You would just use a V-groove, a V-bit with a bearing, and you could just go around and do that really quick. That'd be another reason, rather than standing there with a rasp file and filing that. Then obviously at this point, you're going to loosen your machine screws so you can slide the whole thing over. Slide, pull into cutout, make it flush with the edge of the door, tighten your machine screws, and then insert your oval head screws that go here and on the other side, and they'll go into the face of the door here. Okay, obviously pre-drill the hole. Pre-drill the hole the correct size. Probably about 80% of the root diameter of the screw is what I'd be looking for. And you'll notice that the strike is shown biased towards the top, and that is correct. You want that hole biased towards the top. And basically what they're saying is you are aligning the strike with the pull. So the nice thing about that is you're not doing really any thinking about that. The strike itself literally aligns with the height of the prep on the edge of the unit. So when they say 2 1/4, the distance from here to here is 2 1/4. So just align that, and then you're going to do your mortise. It's a very thin piece of material, 3/64. This material is probably 45 thousandths or something like that. Drill a hole to receive the hook coming out of the edge. Pre-drill your holes and attach your strike to the jamb. When it is desirable to reverse outside plates on lock assembly, first remove machine screw from each side of the door, then remove wood screws, change plates from one side to the other, making sure the fork arm engages the rocker pin and reassemble. Okay. And what they're saying here is the 891, which is our privacy, they're just telling you that yes, the hole is going to be biased towards the top of the plate. That's how we want you to install it. And this is the reversal. And that fork arm and the rocker pin, I will show you coming up here in a moment. And that really goes over all of the other items that we're discussing. So it's an easy installation. How far you decide to go to make the mortising easier on yourself is obviously up to you. I'm a fan of routers. The caliper and the router is the woodworker's best friend, in my opinion. Let's finish up this video on camera. Now, a couple of items that I did want to touch base with you. The purpose of relieving the prep, as you see here, it's scalloped where that is recessed in. So they want a little bit of a relief. Alternatively, you could get your hands on this and you could measure this yourself and say, okay, this is how I'm going to actually prep this. They're actually putting you in a position of creating that mortise as tight as possible to what's required of this hardware as a minimum. But I can tell you in general, pocket door privacies like this do not require that notching that Rockwood calls out. However, I would prep the door, I would prep the work accordingly and as it's called out. So that scalloped area. Now what we're talking about, the forked driver, you can see that right there. It looks like a couple little tuning forks or throw members that you, or driving members that you'd see in interchangeable core cylinders. And then of course the pin, that black rod that's right there. And what makes that compatible again with 1 3/4 is that it's simply long enough so that when you loosen these screws and pull this apart, the pin will still reside within the bird's mouth type preparation of our forked driving parts that are inside of this lock. So little spring back there to keep the unit, that silver spring as I rotate this to keep the unit from just free turning. Okay, keep it a little bit more positive in terms of the movement back and forth. Nice quality item from Rockwood. I have said the phrase nice quality item from Rockwood likely thousands of times in my career. I'm always very impressed with their product, what it looks like when I receive it. I have been in factories and I have seen how things are made. Steel doors, hinges. I always walk away with a deep appreciation for exactly how much of a hassle it is to make hardware. And the fact that I get hardware from Rockwood that always looks in such pristine condition tells me that they have an incredible command and mastery over the manufacturing process. I would very much recommend that you review their full line catalog. There is a link below this video to the manufacturer's page, and I'd like to just scroll back, screen view that right now. And here's that link to the manufacturer's page, and that is a very, very handy link because it will allow you to do a number of things. You'll be able to see not only the Rockwood products that we sell, but a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to their full product catalog, as well as their full line catalog. Let's see. As well as their architectural door pull catalog. They had moved it on me a little bit. 100+ pages of incredibly magnificent architectural door pulls made of a variety of architectural base materials: stainless steel, brass, bronze, leather wrapped, rubber wrapped, wood infused, etc. Just a really great resource if you're looking for distinctive door pulls. Okay, now let's wrap up this video on camera. In conclusion, I'm partial to Rockwood, and I hope that came through on this video. If you have any questions on how to install that 891 or any other Rockwood product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.